The University of Missouri is proud of its Museum of Art and Archaeology. We hope that you will enjoy this short highlights tour of our art that spans over 4,000 years of human history. This is our cast gallery. These statues are over 100 years old. They are plaster copies of ancient Greek and Roman sculptures. Although they are white, the original statues were painted in lifelike colors. Our Kouros is a type of sculpture that was carved about 2,500 years ago. Kouros is a Greek word that means male youth. Each Kouros was sculpted with similar features. Notice the facial expression, a faraway stare, and a dreamy smile. The hair is stylized, no natural wind-blown look for him. His arms and hands hang straight down at his sides, fists lightly clenched, thumbs forward. His weight is equally balanced on both legs, with one foot slightly in front of the other. Our Kouros appears stiff and immobile, as though he can't quite pick up his feet to step forward. This is Doryphoros. Doryphoros is the Greek word for spear-bearer. Spear-bearer was first carved about 2,400 years ago. What makes Doryphoros different from our Kouros? Do you see how relaxed he looks? He stands at ease in comparison to the stiff stance of the Kouros. His weight has shifted to one leg, his right leg. This stance became famous in sculpting. Notice how the sculptor, Polykleitos, included defined muscles, realistic joints, and natural-looking hair. Doryphoros is classically handsome, competitive, a Greek athlete in his prime. Our final highlight in the cast gallery is Laocoon and His Sons. The original sculpture is on display at the Vatican Museum in Rome. It was likely carved in 3 pieces by 3 different sculptors in the final decades before the birth of Christ. This statue shows Laocoon, a Trojan priest, and his sons as they are fighting for their lives against sea serpents. Look at their faces. Do you see fear, desperation, agony? Compare the intensity and richness of this sculpture to the spear-bearer's classic composure, and then to the Kouros' dreamy look. Quite a contrast. Complementing our cast gallery is our Gallery of Ancient Art. Thanks to museum founders Saul and Gladys Weinberg, this impressive collection includes pottery, glass, jewelry, sculptures, and art objects representing the major cultures of the ancient Mediterranean world, including ancient Greece, Rome, Egypt, and what was once the area of today's Middle East. This is our mummy shroud from ancient Egypt. It was woven and painted almost 1,900 years ago. This cloth was intended to cover the mummified remains of a young, dark-haired woman from a well-to-do family. And if you look closely, you'll see that she had 6 toes on each foot. Here's a sampling of our ancient pottery pieces. Some pieces in our collection are thousands of years old. They have exotic-sounding names like Kylix, a shallow-stemmed 2-handled drinking cup; Krater, a wide 2-handled bowl for mixing wine and water; Pyxis, a small round box used to hold medicines, trinkets, cosmetics; Arabalos, a small flask with a narrow neck used to contain perfumes or oils; and Amphora, a large or small 2-handled jar with a narrow neck used for storing and transporting olives, oil, wine, and grain. We marvel at how such delicate, beautifully crafted pieces of clay pottery could survive, mostly intact, over the course of thousands of years. Finally, let's look at a small but interesting object, a bronze Roman strigil. In ancient times, athletes slathered perfumed oil on their skin and then used strigils to scrape off the mix of dirt, sweat, and oil. This was their way of cleaning themselves after competitions. Next is our European and American gallery. It spans well over 1,000 years of artistic accomplishments. Thanks to our many benefactors, including the Crest Foundation and the Gilbreth McLaurin Museum Fund, the collection includes a wealth of art from the early Middle Ages, through the Renaissance of the 16th century, through the 17th century Baroque period, and into the 19th century art of the Western world. Our earliest pieces in this gallery represent the art, adornments, carvings, and illustrated manuscript pages from early Christianity, the Byzantine period, and the Middle Ages. These are some of our early Christian icons. The word icon means image. These icons, painted in miniature, were thought by worshippers to be portals that allowed prayers to ascend directly to the Almighty. Our sculptures include the expressive drama portrayed in St. Jerome, carved in wood in the 1600s, and the beautifully translucent Carrara marble of bathing nymphs, sculpted in the 1800s. The paintings in this gallery vary from works inspired by biblical stories and mythology to landscapes and portraits. One of our most impressive oil paintings is titled Abraham Sacrificing Isaac. This monumental work was painted by a gifted follower of the famous Rembrandt van Rijn in the 1600s. It portrays an emotional scene from Genesis where God tests Abraham's faith. It is dramatic in size and composition and rich in symbolism and metaphor. One of our portraits is the 18th century Portrait of Lady Hamilton by the fashionable British artist George Romney. Romney painted his subject, Emma Hart, over 100 times as he explored her varying moods and emotions. Another is the 19th century portrait of Thomas Withers Nelson by Missouri's famed portrait painter George Caleb Bingham. Bingham lived in Columbia and was chosen as the University of Missouri's first professor of art in 1877. Our final highlight from this gallery is the striking oil painting by American artist Claude Hurst, Still Life with Bowl, painted in 1922. Claude Hurst's real name was Claudine Hurst, and she was one of only a few females daring to make a living as an artist in this country in the early 20th century. Her precision and skill with composition and color give the objects in her painting a lifelike vibrance. Some of our favorite 20th century works are by Missouri artists. These 20th century regionalist paintings capture the life, look, and spirit of our region, the heartland of America. Here is Birger Sandson's The Farmhouse Greenwood, painted in 1929. Greenwood is one of Columbia's oldest homes, thought to have been constructed in 1839. The home is located on the northeast edge of the city. Sandson's thick application of paint and use of bold colors give this home a lasting vitality. Another favorite is Thomas Hart Benton's Portrait of a Musician, done in 1949. Benton's skill as an artist combines with his love of jazz. Look carefully at how he captures the music of a Kansas City jazz bassist by using bold, undulating lines and rhythmic contours. A final highlight is Frank Stack's Eagle Bluffs, painted in 2003. This oil painting on a wood panel was inspired by a scenic location southwest of Columbia. Stack created this rich landscape in the open air, capturing the color and movement of the natural world around us. So far, our highlights tour has focused largely on our Greco-Roman heritage and the subsequent art of the Western world. Let us now take a brief look at our African and South Asian galleries. Thinking about the pieces in these collections can deepen our insight and appreciation of the artistic interpretations of people from less familiar cultural traditions. For example, look at our African ritual pounders known as Children of Poro. These were carved in wood by an unknown artist from the Senufu people of the Ivory Coast. These ritual pounders are steeped in symbolic meaning and are an important part of the life rituals of the Senufu people. One use of the pounders is to tamp down the mound of earth over a freshly dug grave. Another smaller piece in our African collection is an ivory comb called Comb Surmounted by Two Figures. This piece is from the Akan people of Ghana. Again, the skilled artist of this elaborately carved comb is unknown. Combs such as this served as decorative elements in hairstyles, as gifts, and as wall decoration. How do these representations of the human body by the Senufu and Akan peoples compare to the ancient Greek Kouros, or the spear bearer, or our bathing nymphs? Does culture influence artistic style? In our South Asian gallery, we have a display of art from Buddhist and Hindu religious traditions. Our sculptures depict an array of gods and other saintly beings who are worshipped both in public places and in private homes. These sculptures are ornately carved and rich in symbolism for peoples in India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and other South Asian countries. This piece is called The Buddha Calling the Earth to Witness. Notice that the Buddha is sitting in the symbolic lotus position with his knees bent and his legs crossed. The bump on the top of his head is a symbol of supreme wisdom. Another piece is the Shiva Nataraja. In this sculpture, the powerful Hindu deity, Shiva, becomes the king of dancers, symbolizing the internal and cyclical rhythms of life, birth, and death. Notice Shiva's arms. There are 4 of them, symbolizing the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. Can you think of similarities and differences between the art of the Hindu and Buddhist religious traditions compared with the artistry of the early Christian icons or the monumental painting of Abraham and Isaac? Finally, we come to our modern and contemporary gallery. This time, our time, is like no other. It is marked by change, by technological innovations, increasing global awareness, and shifting trends. Our collection tries to reflect the artistic depth, vision, and variety prevalent in our modern, intricately connected world. From the delicate hand-blown glass creations by Dale Chihuly, to Pablo Picasso's whimsical owl vase, to Woodard's handsome terracotta bust of Maudel, to our array of challenging contemporary paintings, we can appreciate the freedom of artistic expression that unifies the art of our time. We hope you've enjoyed your highlights tour, brought to you by the staff, docents, and friends of the University of Missouri's Museum of Art and Archaeology.